I've had this frog for years, and I tied it on a few times, went out, and man, I couldn't work this frog. I didn't know how to walk it, couldn't do anything. So I just kind of like put it on the shelf and forgot about it. Well, I've been kind of hearing about rumors, people talking about it, people buying stuff off the eBay store. That kind of like intrigued me. So I looked into it, and I found a cool video from the guy who designed it. And so this frog, to walk it, it's hard to walk. You have to have a lot of slack in your line, more than you'd be comfortable with almost, you know. But after fishing it for you know, a few months now, man, that slack really helps your hookup percentage, because it already has that delay in it a little bit. So at least that's what I found anyway. And so the frog's pretty light, but that rabbit fur tail gets waterlogged, and man, it adds, I mean, it becomes a half-ounce frog at that point. So it casts really good. I mean, if there's some wind, these little frogs don't cast that great anyway, but I mean, this one's pretty accurate. Also, every time I say you have to take a drink or do a push-up or whatever you like to do, because I've been noticing I say it a lot. So, also this frog, it sits horizontal on the water, like level with the water, like the back end doesn't dip down, you know, like the majority frogs, and you kind of get like porpoise action, you know. This thing sits really level, and those grooves on the side turn this into a wake boat, you know. This thing pushes some water more than any frog I've seen. So when you're working it through a lily pad field and you come across, you know, one of those 1 foot openings, you can sit there and work this bait in there until your arm's sore and it barely moves forward, and it's just pushing a bunch of water. And I've really been getting patient with my frog fishing instead of fishing so fast, and I've noticed that being patient with this frog really pays off. This fish here, this one here, was probably my biggest of the season. And I don't think I've ever caught a frog or a bass in this part of the lake. It's more of like a pike spot, but I was getting to the good juice. And yeah. And everybody wants to say, oh, how come you're not flipping the boat or the fish and you're grabbing a net? Man, I got a horrible back. It's hard to tell from these frog fishing pictures, but I literally cannot walk today, so. But anyway, man, that fish took me by total surprise, man, and just celebrating. Man, that was a fatty for northern Minnesota. Choked it. And so, man, I was shaking after this. So then I retied and I casted it out there, and I left this clip in because I didn't even have the frog tied on. I casted it out, the frog went flying off, and I was just literally right there just working the line all the way to the boat dang near. And I was like, what the heck happened? I thought I had maybe a fish come up and slurp it down, because they've been really like slurping it instead of just smashing the bait. So, yeah. Anyway, that was pretty funny. Yeah, so it's summertime. It doesn't really matter where you fish a frog, I think, as long as there's cover around, you know. This area I'm fishing there's huge lily pad fields. So you can kind of see it better here. All this, so where the boat is, that's like 6 feet of water, and there's cabbage and different weeds. And then 10 feet out from the lily pads, it's a lot thicker weeds, but not topped out to the surface. But man, there's so much depth under these pads, it's crazy. which makes it really awesome for frog fishing all summer long, because you're hitting a needle in a haystack with them, you know, back there. But man, when you get them, and if you can get them out of there, man, that's good times. Yeah, this bait stays hooked up. It walks really good. I've been really impressed. I wouldn't be putting it on my 3rd episode if I wasn't really impressed. Also, I'm using 40-pound braid. I'm using a Daiwa SWTW whatever reel. It's their old one, like the Type R. Man, I love that reel. I wish they'd come back out with that. I'm using the Daiwa frog rod. Man, 7.4. That's the perfect length for me. Doesn't get any better than that. If it's too long for me, I kind of struggle walking it. But, you know, I've seen people, you know, do awesome on longer rods, shorter rods, whatever your preference is. Hopefully my videos are getting a little bit better. The footage is... I'm trying. This editing is, you know, I'm kind of getting a system down for it now too, so hopefully things will improve and get better. But yeah, frog fishing, man, it's best time of the year. Funnest bite. Look at that fatty. I caught a lot of other fish, smaller ones that I didn't showcase, and I also caught some pike on this frog, and it's an expensive frog, so I was like, dang man, I hope it ain't all ripped up, you know, and gonna start to sink. And I was like